Good morning, everyone. I appreciate your time. I want to introduce myself. My name is Rick, and my last name is available upon request. I greatly appreciate your time, and I'm humbled and grateful to be here. What I'd like to be able to present to you in this video, and I'm hopeful I'm not going to go too long, is an adaptation of my life. It's going to be real, obviously, and it's going to be also involving the persona that I've played for over 35 years. So sit back and relax. Please stay till the end. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'm humbled and honored to be able to present this to you. This is a first time, and I have some notes to refer to. I will reveal and go back and forth in segments and in different character, but this is me to start, so I greatly appreciate you. And I'm assuming I'm going to start off in human resources, so I'll give you a brief background sorry about the uhs, a little nervous here, but not that nervous. I do appreciate it. We'll circle back and we'll flash back and we'll do histories. I'm going to do it in different segments. So please, again, as I said, bear with me. From 2011 to 2019, I worked as a security officer for the Board of Education. My duties included secure all areas of the high school to ensure the safety and staff of all students, monitor student activity and enforce rules and policies and procedures to maintain a safe atmosphere, manage and monitor multi-camera security system, greet visitors and maintain daily log sheet, checks and balances of all secure door entries. From February of 1985, when I started the academy and then went into the prison in the county jail in February of 1986, August of 85 was the academy, and February of 1986 is when I became an officer, until my completion in June of 2011. So I was a corrections officer for a little over 25 years. And I'll just briefly break that down. For the State Department of Corrections, and the duties included to perform inmate counts, searches, and inspections of assigned areas, maintain discipline and security while monitoring inmate activity and movement, prepare reports and maintain records of inmate issues and incidents, mitigate inmate crisis, and interact with public staff and all outsider interdepartmental staff through effective interpersonal training and communications. I know this is the boring part of this audio and video, so I appreciate it. Follow fire safety and emergency procedures and plans, consistently deal with dangerous and often violent and volatile inmate population in disagreeable conditions. Additional work professions, you ask? I appreciate that. From 1984 to here in 2021, I've performed in different roles in entertainment, from professional wrestling to broadcasting to TV to movies to music, entertainment, bodyguard, security. So I'll just briefly run that because we'll be here, and I appreciate you listening to the mundane part of the human resources of this audio and video. Performer for sports entertainment throughout the United States, participant for charity and fundraising events, philanthropist, although broke, but that's the point. A New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame class of 2019 and PAPW Hall of Fame class of 2020. From 1988 to 1995, supervised for Pro Event Corporated, 20 to 50 staff members at numerous venues throughout the United States. Responsible for the safety and security of concert patrons, maintained crowd control, private investigator, and personal and domestic issues. So that is that part of it. And again, I appreciate you letting me read off the resume to you. Also, from 1986 to 1990, a bail enforcement agent for several different high courts, an independent contract with a bail bondsman, pursue and apprehend fugitives, and had the chance to actually really learn a lot and from a gentleman that you may know, as an addendum to this, if you remember John Stossel as an entertainment forum in that 2020 interview back in the 1980s, when he asked if a certain sports entertainment was fake, because now it's sports entertainment. Thank God, but it is what it is. And then the old proverbial, and this is what I try to provide, so thank you for bearing along. I don't know if anyone remembers that. It wasn't a pretty sight, lawsuits involved, but that's another story for another time. And then from 1982 to 2014, might have been a few years later, a doorman, bouncer, and bodyguard all over the country in every club from Connecticut to Florida. Interpersonal communication skills, crowd control, those are the most important things that I found in those professions. I had the opportunity to be backstage and meet and walk them to the stage and just be able to hear the persona of everyone from Jimmy Buffett to Rod Stewart to LL Cool J. Very fortunate because I learned being in the background and What I've learned throughout my life is to learn, listen, be quiet. Don't always speak, and although I'm known for being a talker, so to be able to do that, I really learned a lot from different aspects of the entertainment community. We'll get on to the part that I'm really proud of, my education. I did go to a school of broadcasting and had a scholarship there from a local radio station and was able to go to the school of broadcasting and learned a lot. Probably in my 4th or 5th year while I was in the Department of Corrections, I thought DOC was going to be a platform to being a police officer or a state trooper. That was my original goal. After the entertainment part, when I was earlier, and we'll get on to that, didn't really work out. It's a long story, and we're going to get on to that. I'm going to try to make it brief. So Connecticut School of Broadcasting, there it is. I threw it out there. I'm going to try not to mention names, so please bear with me. I'll mention first names, try not to mention last names, just for everyone's sake. It doesn't really mean anything, so I appreciate that. 1981 to 1985, I went to the State University. Was going for public health and communications. At first, it was supposed to be journalism. The best 5 years of my life living on my own. I left home when I was 17 from high school, working the summer job, and then going to school. It was only 35 minutes away from my family, but you would have thought I lived on the West Coast because I never went home. I stayed for spring breaks and off session and stuff like that, and it was the best time of my life. Yes, I did not get my degree in public health and communications or journalism. We were all bodybuilders and working that door and, living the life and taking care of your own laundry, fending for yourself, feeding yourself, having a schedule, being responsible, waking up, things that mommy and daddy aren't there to do there for you anymore, taking care of your own personal hygiene, interpersonal communication. So I learned that as a young man, leaving home, I believe, and that college experience and living on campus. It was a different world, late 70s, early 80s, and I'm very blessed and fortunate to have that. So those were great times, and I was learned to be a man and learned to be myself, and what I didn't get at home, because mom raised us. Dad was working second and third shifts and wasn't around. It was mom. So it was what it was. And of course, 77 to 81, high school years. It was a lot of fun. So I did get my high school diploma and graduate, and that was a lot of fun. And so from high school to college, summer job, thought I was going to be a personal fitness trainer at that point and own my own gym. And that fell through financially. And then right to college, corrections. And you'll see as the story goes on. So I appreciate it. Current state guard card certified, along with other different certifications, and references are available upon request, but we're going to get to that. So thank you. As we're 7 minutes in here, we're going to transition. Human Resources, thank you for being here. I appreciate your time, and I hope I answered your questions as far as like my background of the boring and mundane paperwork, but I do appreciate it. It's very colorful. We can go on for hours. I was told I have to keep this under half an hour. Okay, so we're done with that. Thank you for listening. I'm going to transition. Rick is going to leave. Thank you so much for listening to this. I greatly appreciate it. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And you're going to see as we go on. But now I'm going to switch over to the satire and parody part. And I'll read through this quickly and try to leave out a lot of names. Stay with me. You're going to enjoy the ride. This is going to be about a 3-segment show. My way of giving back to you and producing to tell you who I am. It ought to be interesting. Thank you. Don't go anywhere. Now that Rick's gone, it's me, it's the GOC, coming to you live to tape 20 feet below the surface of the earth. And I'm here to talk about the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, the GOC Kirkland Esquire, the GOC Esquire for all you fans out there. First off, let me get the camera off what Rick was doing, and let's get on to this. I'm going to make it quick. We have to make this quick. But this is the Guardian of Chaos, and you can see me every Saturday night live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Avi Klein's The Green Room Tournament. We're in round 1. It's been a great summer. We're headed into the fall in round 2 with stars from TV, film, sports, music, entertainment, theater. You're not going to want to miss it. So I'll say that to say this. Sit back and relax, like Rick said, and enjoy Chaos Corner from the Guardian of Chaos. And I'll say that to say this. We're going to bounce back and forth in this production brought to you by Rick. Be quiet over there, Rick, and sit down. I'm here looking at my 60-inch screen TV, viewing pro wrestling videos from the early to mid-'80s, watching Hogan, Dusty, the Road Warriors, Snuka, Macho Man, Captain Lou, Harley Race, Bruiser Brody, Jim Cornette, Gary Hart, the Freebirds, and the video, I Like to Hurt People. Good or bad? Now this is where I come in. I've been a fan for some 20 years of this industry. Now remember, this was written back before 9/11. This is in the year right before the turn of the century, 99 into 2000 when this was written. We're in 2021. I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of who we are. It's pretty obvious to say, as I said, I've always been a mark and had a dream like many others. I know of someday becoming a pro wrestler in sports entertainment. I attended pro wrestling school back in 1984 while I was going to college and contemplating my future at this particular institute of higher learning. I also trained at the local gym, which was owned by a former Mr. Universe. Whenever the big camp and the WWF came to town, all the stars and even the actors and entertainers, seeing that there was a theater right there on the wharf, would go there to train. I chatted and joked and asked very few questions. I spotted the likes of Jesse Ventura, Mr. Fuji, the Samoan Dynasty, Tony Gurria, and of course, this is where I became brothers, even blood brothers, so to speak, with someone I'll call Little Sam. That was all I needed to attend the wrestling school I had heard about. This school was run at a gym in the Nutmeg State, the Constitution State, if you will. The owner was a former light heavyweight bodybuilding champion. The trainers were former big-time legends, with help from few other veterans of the ring wars of that area, which included former veterans. One in particular did most of the in-ring training. He really made others look good. Several top wrestlers at the time would come through there to train. And we're going to use the names by first names, made up names. You figure it out for yourself, such as Mr. USA, Sal, the late Quick Draw, and the late Jerry. Several of the students went on to enjoy some success in pro wrestling and in sports entertainment, becoming so-called enhancement talent, such as Mark. And for some, they went on to superstardom with the big companies all over the world, such as Paul. I'm sorry I'm reminiscing instead of getting to my point. To be honest about it, the training was one of the toughest things physically that I ever attempted to do. At the time, I was involved in bodybuilding, powerlifting, martial arts, and bounced in some of the toughest clubs around. So needless to say, I was no one to try, but still entertainment and this pro wrestling school in particular at that time sent me home bruised and battered with the proverbial tail between the legs, not to mention the unpaid balance of my training. Oh, that's another story. I went and put my dreams aside, although never forgetting about them, saying, there's got to be another way, because I couldn't cut it. Let's face it, to become a full-time grappler or a full-time actor, I had to be honest with myself and realize that based on pure natural ability, finances, and the injuries I had already had, which I'm not going to talk about, it's another story for another time. Read my story. You'll find out what happened to me at 16 years old. That I would not be able to totally reach my goals. So in search of something else, I lived that life on the edge, not only behind the walls. I became a private investigator, a repo man, a bodyguard, security, a bounty hunter, and for the past 15 years, a prison guard. Now remember, we're in the year 2000 right now. You're not in 2021. So 15 years ago in 2000 was a prison guard. Oh, wait. Let me be politically correct. In this day and age, like it matters, I was a corrections officer, and you read the resume. He was boring in that meeting. I sat in the back, and it was boring. Yeah, you lived a colorful life. You put your life on the line. You gave a lot back to people, but what did you really do, Rick? You're a giver. You're a good guy. You do a lot for a lot of other people. Where did it get you in life? Where did it get you? Huh? Let's get back on. During all this, I knew I had the ability, patience, and desire to make it in the industry of pro wrestling. In the late 80s, being able to do some traveling with the SST, the Samoan Dynasty, they were one of the top tag teams in the NWA in the world. At the time, they were feuding with the legendary LOD. I'm trying not to say names, but this is the reality of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I had the chance to meet and talk with Gary, Michael. He's one hell of a guy. Butch, Ron, Jack, the late Dick. The other Dick, Scott, before he became a full-time grappler, and the Great One from the Orient, although I could never really understand what he was talking about. This was another experience that kept my spirit alive and made me think that I had to be a part of entertainment, no matter what it was, never ending the dream. Let's move on. This is the fun part of this interview. I don't know if it gets much better after this when Rick comes back on screen. Fast forward to the early 90s, 92 to be specific, I believe, if I'm accurate. I've been told I had the brain of a dehydrated baby. You know this is a performance with me, and Rick's the real deal, right? I'm older, wiser, a father of 2 beautiful daughters, yes. With mounting responsibility, finances, and injuries that affected me on a daily basis, the entertainment dream was off in the distance like a lone star in the sky. At that point, reality was my dream. I still studied countless hours of videos and tapes and performed by myself or in front of my daughters. The Chaos Daughters. The interviews, promos, and commentary are always as entertaining as the matches themselves to me. The psychology, characters, personas, and what the entertainers had to say, or in some cases, not say. Well, I never followed that. It always tweaked me. I couldn't get enough, and I constantly called the matches myself without the sound. Yeah, my daughters did too. They even came on the road with me. That's another point. At that point, I decided that's what I had the talent and ability to do, is entertain people. I had to become a manager, a commentator, a broadcaster, a performer. I still wanted to take a few spots and bumps because I liked the feeling of pain as that character during the match and get over at ringside. During ringside or during the stage performances, managing would get me over more as a character to do the color. I had to manage my performers. I had to put together their story roles. It made sense to me. It developed into give me the mic and turn on the camera thing, and it just seemed to come natural, mostly on the spot. Ad-lib stuff. There wasn't too many people doing that, especially back then. I had some experience with being a local DJ. I attended broadcasting school on a scholarship from a local radio station. With all that I had gone through in my other professions, I developed some pretty good interpersonal communication skills. In other words, I had a big, loud mouth with the ability to change my voice and stepped into character with ease. Shut up, Rick. I apologize. I could hype 2 fat guys circling the all-you-can-eat buffet like it was the Kentucky Derby. I knew a few friends who had been training at the same facility I went to a decade earlier. They did occasional matches for the big time. They did performances down at the local theater. They did some independent shows. They even promoted their own performances locally. I trusted them. Mistake number 1. Enough to ask them if they had any need for a manager, someone behind the stage. Gimmick, life, reality. They liked it, and we hit the circuit, working fairs, armories, high schools, and some of the worst places that were running. We even went down to some of the wrestling schools, Iron Mike's place, Rocky, Johnny at Gleason's. And we appeared on all the local public access shows, all the local scenes in every town, in the Northeast and New England areas, and then we branched out across the country. We were in almost every town. You know what Bully Ray said to me 25 years ago, around this time? Give the Guardian of Chaos 6 spots, and he may screw up 5 of them. I consider that a compliment coming from a Hall of Famer on a national radio program. I'm just saying. I got to take the positive out of it. So needless to say, we worked for everyone that you can think of. Most of the time, we were working just for the work. We hit every small town and worked for every scumbag promoter that wanted to put on a show. It didn't matter if it was theater or wrestling. Most of the time, working, as I said, just for the work. No money. All you pampered son of a bees out there, no exposure in all kinds of situations. Damn, a few times we had to fight our way out of the building because some wannabe, know-it-all, promoter, producer advertised a show and the fans showed up, but the ring or the performance or the props never did. We stuck together. Unfortunately, yeah, we partied. Or fortunately, however you look at it, we lived on the edge. Those legendary nights and watched out for each other. At least that's the way it appeared to be. It's like we were the fabulous ones, and you know what I'm talking about, of the early years. After several incidents and false promises from my so-called boys, it sunk into my thick effing head that just maybe I ought to start talking for myself. I was learning the ropes, trying to get into the SAG, I don't even want to mention it, or be a manager. It was tough to get booked, especially by yourself. No promoter, no matter how good you were. The promoter has to find a worker who will agree to perform with you in all aspects of entertainment. I continued to let others do the talking so I could keep working. Remember, it's absolutely who you know in this business. Needless to say, I got screwed and got left out of certain appearances and bookings because of jealousy, hard feelings, money, and mixing business with pleasure. Mistake number 3, although it's different depending on who the family is. Once again, I decided that I would be better off going it alone. I made a demo of my mic skills, promos, interviews, the big bumps. I honestly thought it was my time to shine. A heel manager, color commentator, a heel actor, a villain, a Marvel comic on stage, in the mold of all the greats. Captain Lou, Gary, Freddie, the Wizard, Bobby, Jim, Jimmy, JJ, Jackie. I made the drive up I-95 towards the city and the big sign and emblem that signified my destination. I walked into the building with high expectations and never made it past the front desk. I left my demo with the receptionist who claimed that my demo would go to production and the talent coordinator to be viewed. I believed her and I left. A few weeks later, I got a letter from that same big Forbes 500 place with the emblem on it as I saw on the side of the building. I let it sit on my kitchen table for 3 days before I opened it. It read, "Thank you for your recent interest in working for our company. We receive a large volume of talent correspondence, and we give individual attention to each person. It will take us 4 to 6 weeks to respond. We appreciate your patience, and you get to participate in our response after viewing your correspondence. We'll be in touch with you, Senior VP of Talent Administration." I'm still waiting to hear from them, but guess what? As we update and go forward, we leave the year 99, 2000, and fast forward to 2019 quickly. I ran into that Vice President of Talent Relations. He took his thumb and he sticked it on the letter because I still have the letter if you want me to prove it. And he said, "To tell you the truth, GOC, I don't know if I ever saw it." And he signed it and gave it to me. How about that? As another mistake in the career of the Guardian of Chaos for letting other people speak for him and maybe sometimes speaking too much for yourself. I've been accused of that. That's another story for another time. That was May of 1994. We're bouncing back and forth here, so stay with me. This left an obvious bad taste in my mouth, and I must say, another dose of reality. That was it. I had a family to take care of, a good job, and the entertainment business just wasn't paying off. I swore off the business and concentrated on my time inside the walls with society's worst and most dangerous. I played their game and survived going on, and I took a brief hiatus from entertainment and concentrated on trying to really survive. From 94 to maybe mid-96, no contract from anyone in the world of entertainment. Before I continue, I was lured back into the business. I would like to cover the injuries and stuff, but I've encountered and endured through the years and personally and professionally, but we'll just go on too long. Just for the record, I've sustained 6 concussions. multiple tears in both knees, broken both ankles, tore all the ligaments and tendons, broken my lower back, 2 surgeries on my lower back, the 3rd vertebrae in the lower lumbar region, abdominal surgery, and recently surgery on both shoulders. Well, updated now to 3 shoulders, and it's updated from 20 years ago to now tenfold, but who cares? Because I survived and I persevered, because that's what the Guardian of Chaos does. And if he was the host of your show or on your network, that's what he would do. This is what he would bring to you. This is the story. So I was lured. Those are the injuries. Okay, when I think about planning more, I don't know. There isn't a day that goes by that I'm not in some sort of pain. I'm starting to get used to it, maybe even liking it. And that was over 2 decades ago. I'm almost done here. We're getting on. Rick's coming back. He's having something to eat. Then stand by. Boy, I'll tell you. 1996, they say your memory goes first. Early 96, I had another small bite of doing things and reaching and getting back into entertainment. Remember, all this time behind the walls, behind the scenes of the business. One of the same guys who broke my trust back as the so-called Freebird unit when we were doing the independent scene of entertainment, pro wrestling, improv, whatever it is that you want to call it. Yeah. Good looking out there, my friend. So to be it all, because like my mind's like a lazy Susan. Just hold on. It'll swing right back around. So it's funny that it comes back to you. So it's from the early 90s where people were doing performances for the big companies here in the Northeast area, but not really getting anywhere. Being the better man and seeing he was close to my family at the time, I gave him another chance because whether it's Rick sitting off to the side or the GOC, I give second chances and I let the past go. And I'm glad I did. Not letting go and holding grudges for years will take that certainly time off your life, if you're understanding what I'm talking about. I traveled with the big time, learning behind for the tapings and around different areas. At the time, they were using local performers to do certain television and appearances. Whether you work the tapings or not, you still get paid for being there and showing up and being on call. So I sat there and I watched and I monitored, and I saw people interact with Sean and Steve and Sid and Mark and Dennis, and it's just unbelievable. But let's not forget sitting down and with Mick, and he gave me his wings. I always talk about Mick and hear about Mick, and people talk about him being an author and entertainer. He gave me his wings. That was unbelievable. And before that, Rocky came over. It was unbelievable. We talked to Owen just to listen to them and be able to pick their brain. And they showed you as someone as an equal. Now, they would never remember this, but I remember it. That's how it impacted my life. I'll take the chain. I'll put it back on. That's how it impacted my life. And yeah, I'm exposing the notes, but this is the life story. So we move on from there. This part's almost over. Learning how to blend in and keeping a low profile was something I was always able to do. That allowed me to fit right in and be a spectator as to what was going on without bringing attention to myself. I've learned and experienced some invaluable lessons in this business, just learning and watching the stars, the performers. Being able to accomplish that has been the biggest reward of my life. Talking to these people, having a relationship, being able to perform, not anything about who they were, because I found out very quickly we were all the same people. Again, I realized how hard the business was and almost gave up the shoot to get into entertainment, and thank God I didn't. It was still a part of me and what I wanted to do. But reality slapped me in the face again. So we're going to hold off onto that. We're almost done. I told you, he told you we were going long. We're at 28 minutes. We're going to fast forward because that's what we're doing. We're in the time machine here at Chaos Corner and with your host, Rick. In the spring of 97, I'm living La Vida Loca on the shoreline. Single father, surviving the way I always did, mostly by taking it one day at a time, living for the now, hopefully learning from the past and respecting the future, although not thinking too much about the road ahead. Entertainment was one of the furthest things from being on my mind, I thought. On the occasional night off, I would catch up with the latest developments in entertainment. But I hadn't watched many of the shows live or been on pay-per-view. Certainly didn't know of anything that was going on locally. Up all night, sleep all day, sleeping on the beach in the morning, working the second shift, inside, staying out all night, taking care of the kids on my days off. Single father, co-parenting, it wasn't easy. I know that you can relate to that. On some of the nights I happened to have off from the prison, I had my youngest daughter with me, and we would play remote commando, switching the television channels to whatever. I happened to catch the local shows and the local